All right, welcome everyone to Middle School Mondays. You're joining us with Colorado middle level educators and beyond for 30 minutes of laughter and learning today and on the last Monday of each month. So I'm Megan Fruvelhoff, the Fru, and this is over here is Chris Frank. And together we're just bringing educators together to just talk about tips and tricks of the trade and just kind of join us all together in community. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, between the two of us, one of us recently went to a Justin Bieber concert and the other one is me. So I'm Chris Frank and, I'm assistant principal at Altona Middle School in St. Vrain Valley School District. And just love this opportunity to connect with people. So Megan, tell us about you. What did you do over break? Anything fun?
Oh, great question. No, I did not do that much fun stuff, but I did go to Justin Bieber before break. So that was wonderful. So yeah, Megan Fruvelhoff. I have been in this district and doing work in education for 13 years now as a mental health interventionist. I totally love my job. It's like the best job ever. And was reminded today how hard it is to go from spring break back to like the rules and all the things that come with school, because it was a little bit tough for some people today, myself included. So did you have any of that, Chris, over there? Just curious.
We did. It was awesome. I had a couple middle school kids who have recently been telling me they really like my haircut, and I'm not sure if it's a joke or if they're being complimentary because I did cut my hair today. But middle school kids bring it to you every day, so that's what we gotta love about them.
For sure.
Let's go ahead and get our content pulled up. Sandy, we're gonna start out with a funny. We do a funny every month, and our funny piece about being a middle school educator this time is tell me you're in middle school without telling me you actually work in a middle school, edition number 1. So we're going to go ahead and kicked off here. Go ahead, Sandy, go to your next slide. And our first one is the pink retainer. I got a pink retainer. Somebody pick it up. It's right here on the chalkboard. You know your middle school when.
I can't even imagine. I feel like they would need to come see me after something like that. How embarrassing. All right. Take the bag of tortillas off of your head. Tell me, where'd this come from, Chris?
We had a Spirit Week, and so this was actually not a part of Spirit Week. It could have landed if it was, but this was down in the cafeteria. 8th graders with a bag of tortillas on their head walking around. Another day in middle school.
Totally. Okay, this has two things that represent middle school, right? We've got the long nails, which, I mean, these should be longer for sure. I do not understand how people type or do anything with their iPads and their cell phones with these nails. But also like the talkie red situation, you know?
Slightly grimy, but in every school.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm still trying to figure out like how I give a presentation on how bad talkies are for you. I feel like I'm lame though. You know what I mean?
They're pretty good.
Are they?
They're not bad.
Fun fact, I've never tried a talkie, so maybe I shouldn't be judging right now. Okay. All right. What's the next one? Wait for it.
Sorry, I'm having a technical difficulty. Please hold.
I need a quote. I wonder if we had a quote from today. Do you have any quotes, Chris?
Quotes, funny quotes from today?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think the next one that was coming up though was the agenda one. You remember that
yeah.
one?
Yes. Uh-huh. Can I just do this one, Chris? Because I know that the reason. Okay, so this was actually, so we're over here at Long Speak, we're kind of special because we have 5th grade. And the teacher had put up the agenda, but hadn't actually filled it in yet. And so the kids thought that they would just take advantage of like filling in the agenda for the day. So it was a free day. Your phones could be out because why not? Phones are a good idea. I think that's supposed to say have fun and play tag. which just like highlights the amazingness of having fifth graders in a middle school, the tag part, you know? It's
Sounds like a perfect day back from spring break.
totally.
Maybe that was the spring break agenda.
Totally. Yeah, that's true. Sounded close to mine.
Sign up. We are all out of snacks. No snacks here. SOS. We don't have snacks.
No more snacks. No more snacks. I probably answered that like 5 million times today. Okay, yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so I just had to do a boomerang of this. The whole like how you walk in your new Air Force Ones without the creases.
We call it the penguin walk.
Okay. Yeah,
Can't
and
crease them.
I here's my thing too. Like I would never have known anything about this except for because I work in a middle school. Like I'm just so curious. Does anyone else know about this? You know?
I don't even know what you're talking about. So I need some help because I don't even know what this is. That's how lame I am.
Well, it's because you don't want to crease your new shoes, right? Like that foot crease that happens at the top when you're actually like using your feet in like the appropriate, the right way. So they walk like straight footed. I don't know how to explain that. Is that right, Chris? Like how to explain that?
Yeah, it's almost like I don't want to bend my toes while I'm walking, so my shoes stay clean.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's a whole thing, Diane. It's pretty amazing to watch because you're like, are you okay? Like you think something's wrong with their legs or something, and then you realize like you look at their feet and then you're like, okay, it's your
I
shoes.
need to come over and visit because I have not seen this yet. Is this like just new this year? Oh my gosh. Wow.
I don't know. I feel like I've noticed it this year. I don't know if it's new, but that's yeah, it's a whole thing for sure. All right, what's our next one?
The random nail sitting in the yard. Oh man, you might work at a school where fake nails might be found in the parking lot or in the soccer field.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was just talking about this one and then happened to find one. And I was like, ooh, gross. Mm-mm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, those are a few of ours, but I'm like, I feel like we could have 5 million other ones, you know, so anyone ever wants to send those in, send them in. All right, so our next section is where we like to talk about middle school Monday teacher hacks. And these are just, you know, really can be these quick things that you implement. What's cool about this is these all come from you all, from the people that are viewing. And so it's just really cool. You know, I think it's one thing where you can like read about this stuff. You can go on Pinterest, you can do these things, but to hear that people are really implementing this here in their schools is pretty sweet. So let's go to our first one. And our first one comes from Brendan Butler, and he calls this the QCC list. So here's kind of what he had to say about it. You know, fellow educators, ever feel frustrated because several students have their hands in the air and you wish that you could be using those hands to get some work done while they wait for your attention? Ever have a student walk up to you with a question while you're in the middle of helping their classmate? Many years ago, I created the QCC list as a solution to these problems. QCC stands for questions, concerns, and challenges. And every day my students can write their names on this list on the board if they want to talk with me one-on-one for any reason. This way they can get some other work done or read a book while they wait, resting assured that I will come help them as soon as it's convenient for me, and that I will help them in the order of the list. What a cool idea. Chris, do you get to see this in action?
Yeah, Brendan's one of the teachers at Altona, and I've seen this work really well. It just kind of keeps kids moving along in the process. He also has some other processes set up so that when kids do need some help and maybe they are waiting for the teacher, that they have some other things that they can be working through during some independent time. So I think this is just a really nice way for kids to say, hey, I need some help, and my learning is not going to stop while I'm waiting for that help. So just a cool little hack that Mr. Butler uses.
And, you know, I think of this too, like, just even from like a counseling needs point, right? Like, I think every person like wants to feel like they're being heard, right? And if they have a need that we're listening to you. And I just think this is such a great way of like validating, like, hey, I got you. I want to get you, like it's okay, and kind of can lessen the anxiety of like, I need my question answered right now. And what if you don't answer it? And then, then Brendan gets to show them like, hey, no matter what, like I got you, your name's up there and I'm going to follow through. So that's really cool. I love it. All right, what's our second one?
All right, so I think this one actually will be really good for our theme today. But this one comes from Melanie Scoville, who is an 8th grade language arts teacher at Longs Peak, and regularly uses discussion to improve student communication. Since she can't be with every group at all the time, students record their discussion on their iPads and submit the recording as their product. So she uses those recording as evidence for students. She measures the participation, use of key vocabulary, gives students sentence stems, and really just uses this as a way to capture all of that thinking in the room by having students using their iPads. And I love that there's these sentence stems here, because this is a great scaffold for kids that maybe aren't sure where to start, but have an ability to jump into a discussion at any point. So kudos to Melanie for sending that one.
I know. And I have to tell you, Chris, I got to hear this one. I was actually right here in my desk, had my door open, and there was a couple students that were practicing this. And it was so awesome to hear a kid say, I respectfully disagree. And I was like wars could be prevented. You know what I mean? If we could actually have dialogue like this. So it's such a cool, like even like a social emotional perspective, how much it teaches kids that it's okay that you can disagree, but there's respectful ways to do it. It's pretty sweet to listen to this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, our last one. So our last one comes from Savannah Collier from Brentwood Middle School in Greeley. And she promotes student collaboration through student roles and responsibilities. And so what she does is she just uses a dry erase marker on the desk just to write a little a title, right? A role title, and then you're good to go. And then of course, she talks about you have to teach what each of these roles are and how to perform them. But once you do that, you can just change them on the fly and students just know what to do. So I love this one because it can be so quick and easy, and you can just erase it, and it gives kids like ownership of what's happening in the classroom. Like this is our classroom because I've got this, this role to play, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, thanks Savannah for sending that one in. That's awesome. So just a reminder, we have this up there, but we'll put it on Twitter and everywhere. We want your hacks. And just to remind people that I know sometimes it's just crazy to me how many times I'll go into a classroom and there'll be something really amazing and a teacher will be like, it's not even that big of a deal. It's so not true. And I just think, you get used to your own routines and your things that you're doing, but you all have amazing things. And I just think it's so cool when you can share that with others because sometimes that's just legit the one thing that somebody was waiting to hear. So we've got a little form. It's on the QR code. We'll put a link in there. Look on Twitter, but please send us your hacks. We want them. We need them. It'd be amazing.
Our best resources are definitely the people next door. And, with us doing this series, it takes next door and expands it across the state. So that's a really unique opportunity. And with that, we're going to introduce our next guest.
Yeah, totally. So this is super exciting. We have Laurie Haddorff from Brentwood Middle School in Greeley. And what's cool about Brentwood is that they were just redesignated as a school to watch. So yay, because that is a big deal and lots to do. I know. Okay, so Laurie, you have taught math, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, algebra, and geometry over the years. This year, you've had a leadership class elective, which has been really cool. And you're here to just talk about academic discourse, scaffolds, and strategies that you're going to be using or that you've used to promote academic writing, and just kind of maybe talking about some of the joy that you bring in. What am I missing? Tell me more.
Yes, you got it. Well, first of all, I'm so thrilled to be here. This is so fun. Middle school people we are special people, right? We don't always, people in the world don't always understand us. I can't tell you, just standing in a grocery line and you'll just be creating a conversation with someone and they'll say, well, where do you, you'll have your badge on and they'll say, well, where do you work? And I'll say Brentwood Middle School and they're like, oh, how do you do that? And so I'm about to start my 24th year of this craziness. And it is just, it gets better and better every year. And anything that I have to share, I didn't come up with on my own. I mean, 24 years ago, I wasn't doing anything like this, but it's because of forums like this. It's because of the community of teachers that you just grow and learn. And so if I can encourage everybody from today to just think of the one thing you can take on with you to better your life, better your experience. I always think whenever I'm at a conference or in a meeting, I think, what can I start? What can I stop? And what can I let go of? And so just doing that good self-reflection. I do have to say though, the clips of the kids were hysterical. I was literally laughing out loud if you have not seen a kid try to walk in their new Air Forces, I mean, it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, it is hysterical. And all of those were great. The talkie fingers, oh my gosh. And that's all middle school language. That's how we speak. Middle school is through all of that. And so it's fun to be part of it. And I'm thrilled to be here. I think though, Megan, the big thing you said was really to kind of think about how, because I teach math and so many times, I can't tell you the number of meetings I've been in where people will say, well, this writing thing that we're going to teach, it doesn't really apply to math. And I'm like, really? Of course it applies to math. Every mathematical is the language of life. And so of course, any sort of writing and reading and speaking applies to it. And so I think the big things that I do in my classroom that help develop that discourse really begins with just the vocabulary, just really teaching. No, let me back up. Even before the vocabulary, I think it's all about belonging. All of those clips you showed, all of those teacher hacks were all about belonging to a classroom environment, right? Belonging to a structure, belonging to a classroom, knowing you fit in, knowing your voice is heard and you're safe. And so for me, that's where everything starts. I probably have the book, First Days of School by Harry Wong, right? It's like, it's so important that those first days, you build that culture, that you start right from the start and go, okay, guys, you're here. We're doing the 5 practices this year and really work. And the first of the 5 practices is belonging. A kid is not they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Mm-hmm. And so really starting that those structures are in place so that they know they belong in your classroom. And once they know that they belong, then you encourage them to share, and you encourage, Joe Bowler, what an icon in growth mindset, and you start with the belonging and the growth mindset and build all of that in the beginning. And you get to know the kid, and simple things like make sure I'm saying your name correctly. We have a very high, we're 80% free and reduced lunch, over 75% Hispanic. And so, you've got to be able to say these names that you may never say correctly, say them correctly from the start. So all of those things are instrumental for any of this other stuff to work. But then once all that's in place, I do vocabulary development from the second day of class. The very second day, they've got a vocabulary word and we write it into sentences. Kids keep, this is Mari Ruby, which again, being not speaking Spanish very well at all, I really worked with her in the beginning of the year to give honor to her name. It's Mari Ruby, not Mary Ruby. And so we work in these spirals each day, and there's all kinds of writing in here. You'll see that from the first entry. I don't know if you guys can see that, but each day there's a vocabulary word and vocabulary development. And then every 6 days, they go through and highlight that vocabulary. That's an AVID strategy. It's like 24, 10, 24, 7 or something like that. You revisit it 10 minutes, you revisit it in 24 hours, and you revisit it in 7 days. So I try to do that strategy in their spirals with the word so that we're saying it when we write the sentence. Then something in the lesson is coming up within the next 10 minutes where we're using that word and saying it as a class. And then in 24 hours, it comes up again. And then in 7 days, it comes back again when we highlight and even take a quiz over those things. So that's where the vocabulary starts from. And then, can I turn my screen?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I could talk about the amazingness of being a middle school teacher for days. So stop me, ask me questions. Am I good to kind of transition?
You're good. Yeah, show us.
Okay. Well, one of the first things that is kind of fun to share is how this is, again, the AVID strategy, hitting words after 6 days. Well, it's 7 days, but I do 6. So each of these 6 sets of words, I didn't start the year with all of these words up here. So each 6, they've had a quiz after 6 words. And it's an open note quiz. It's not like, what does the word increase mean? It's a quiz developed around writing a good academic sentence with that word in it. How have we used it in class? And so after 6 words, they have a quiz. So they know each set of 6 after we're done is a quiz. So here's the one we're on quiz number 13. So that's the one we're currently working on. We don't have the purple word yet. That'll come this week, and then they'll have a quiz next Monday over it. So I would say word walls. I mean, if you want to develop academic discourse in your class, man, get the words up there, have it live, have it exciting. I've gone into classrooms, where the word wall is just this little thing printed out on the back bulletin board. That's not going to do you much good, right? I mean, it's got to be interactive. And I'll always say, oh, I'm thinking of a word, it starts with a B, it's green. And I'll point to the word wall and they'll know, oh yeah, balance. And so it's just got to be part of what you're doing. And rich and exciting and fun. And I thought the rainbow was, I do it different every year, but I thought the rainbow was fun for this year with all that's going on in the world. So it seemed appropriate.
Totally.
Yeah. So
I think it's really cool. Yeah. I just think, the power of teaching a common language and being really intentional with vocabulary is super important. I used to tell kids, if kids are going to learn about a word or a concept, they have to understand the word. And some of that is just even being able to say the word, right? That is a giant hurdle that gets overlooked. If I can't say a word properly, I'm not going to feel comfortable in participating and using it with my peers or with my teacher. And I like how you're just kind of focusing on some of the foundations of vocabulary and academic language.
Well, and don't you think too, Chris, I feel like for so long we focused on, okay, what's the definition of the word? What's the root of the word? And I think roots are important. I do lots of it well. But we say, what's the definition? Like the definition really gets the kids anywhere. It's like, no, it doesn't. Our world is so cool right now because you can find a meme for anything. You can find a video about everything. The definition is lame. Like I don't even start there. Like sometimes I'll just, okay, so the word reciprocal came up, right? It's not a word probably any of us use it as an adult unless you're a math teacher. right? You probably don't say it much. Well, reciprocal teaching, I guess, reciprocating gratitude and things like that. But we don't use it in a math sense necessarily as adults. So I oftentimes, we'll have a concept going and be just thinking through something, and then I'll say to the kids, you know what? There's a cool word for that. That idea that you're thinking about right there, there's a cool word for that, and so it's almost like we do it in the wrong order. The opportunity is there for them to go, Miss, what's the word for that? And then highlight that moment when they want it, when they care about it. I feel that way about like formulas and stuff too. You allow the kids the moment to go, wait, if I could figure out how many times 7 goes into 65, then there would be a lot of power here. And you're like, yeah, and that's called division. So I just think we have opportunities that aren't just by a definition, but they're through experience, where the kids actually become mathematically literate. And all the words we learned as little people, we learned about, I have 2 grandbabies right now, a 3 and a 1-year-old, and they are just so much fun, but everything they're learning is through experience. The 1-year-old is trying to dribble a basketball right now, and he says, hoops. Well, I don't know if he knows how cool he sounds saying hoops, but he's just through experience. He doesn't really know what he's saying, but he gets that there's a connection. And I feel that way about all language and development in the classroom. And I believe a lot in groups too. I'm sitting in the back of my classroom, and so I'm gonna kind of just turn around, and you can see all the table groups there. And they're all, you said, Chris, a moment ago about strategic. Teaching is the hardest job in the world, because if you're not planning everything you're thinking and saying, then you're missing it. You're missing really the joy in it. Because when you have a good plan, when you have really thought through what it is how you want your class to roll, and down to where every kid sits. There's a Kagan strategy about how you group kids in their seats, a high, a low, and 2 mediums. And I'll sit in meetings and people are like, I can't teach with all these levels in the classroom. Well, sure you can. It's called life, right? We can teach with all these levels. You just have to be strategic and intentional about how you work with them. And so having them in those groups, and then sentence stems. I loved that other slide that you showed, making sure they have an opportunity to go, okay, I don't know how to start what I want to say, but I want to say something, and have to some sort of a sentence stem or a framework, or closed sentence, anything gets them talking. One thing I'll sometimes observe is, and I'm guilty of this too, I'll say, okay, you have 3 minutes to talk about, some prompt, something about a scaling triangle. I did one the other day, and this was such a mistake how I did this, because I gave him something. Anyway, it was a reading prompt from our curriculum. And I said, okay, you've got 3 minutes, talk as a table group. Well, after 1 minute, as middle school teachers, we can all probably guess what happened on minute 2 and minute 3. Fernando was over digging stuff out of the trash, and there was talkies, and I read a lot, so I'm going to reference another book, and it is called Teach Like a Champion. And in there's a part that is nothing more than 10 minutes. And so that 3 minutes of just talk time only had a 1 minute benefit. And so if I wanted something powerful to happen in 10 minutes, I shouldn't have used 3 minutes for that talk time. I should have been very intentional, said, this is what we want to talk about. This is what I want you to start your sentence with. And like you saw on Savannah's desks. I want the resource manager to start the conversation, go grab the, so it just, everything needs to be intentional. And once it is, and once that plan is clearly in place, man, there isn't a kid that walks into this room any day and thinks they're going to be bored. They're like, oh, we're doing that today. That it's never like that. It's always because they know it's all, that they're part of it, that they're part of the process, they're part of the learning, and they know they're needed here. And I think kids need to know that. Like, they need to know you want them. There was the other day, I didn't feel very good. And I was like, oh, it was the third core class of the day. And I've been fighting this cold. I don't know if you guys have all had it too. It's not COVID. Don't worry. I'm good. I've been tested, but I'm not at school with that. But, this cold going around. And I really I had to kind of meditate for a few minutes before that third core class walked in. I just closed my door, I locked the door, and I just really breathed in the space. And I really just got the space of my head and the space in the air right. Play a good song, let something resonate in your head, put on a good lotion on your hands, get a good smell of something, because no matter what, the kids deserve your best. We can have bad days, and that's good, but as much as we want the kids to leave their baggage at the door, we got to leave that baggage at the door and give them our best every day. And it's then by May, you're exhausted in every good way, because you're like, you left it all on the court. You gave it your all for for 4 quarters, for 2 halves, whatever. You gave it your all, and you walk away with your head high, and it feels amazing. It's the greatest job in the world. There's nothing better.
Laurie, you're so amazing. And I love how you talked about like recentering yourself, and how important that is. Like, cause I was just sharing that earlier. Like, it's this place, it can be so dysregulating, right?
Yes.
But like, we have a greater capacity to come in regulated, to be able to give it our best.
Absolutely. Well, and kids want a lot from you, especially when they know you're a giver. Like, I was cracking up when you're like, no more snacks. I mean, what middle school teacher? I've got 2 drawers of snacks right here. And when I just am like, not feeling it, I'm like, nope, I'm out of snacks, because I just want them to go to class. But they just need to know that they're cared about and loved. And I don't know about you guys, how you feel about, this is always kind of a messy area, but I'm a hugger. You guys can probably already tell from me, I'm a pretty, I'm a gushy person. I'm pretty gushy. My kids always say, Mom, don't mom out on me. But, sometimes a kid will walk in the door and I just know right away that they need a hug, and I'll just sit there and hug them. And I'll literally in my mind count to 10. I'll think, you know what? I need this hug as much as they do right now. And give yourself that opportunity to receive that hug and receive that love, because that fills you. That's so important. I know not everybody is a hugger, but if you are, to just receive one is huge. And kids are great huggers.
I think it's important to remember that we are in a people profession, and we have our contents, but those human-to-human connections is what keeps us alive. And sometimes it's a handshake or a high five or an inside joke that that the kid has with just you, and it's just that little moment to refill both of your buckets, and kind of keeps you going each day.
Yeah, it's so, it's essential, in this profession. I think that's why we've heard a lot about, teachers feeling discouraged or disconnected. COVID did some damage to all of us that is going to take a long time to heal from. And we need to heal through it together. We can't heal through it by pulling apart. What we've got to do is come together and go, okay, we all have a hole. we are all Swiss cheese right now on the inside, because we lost so much of what was important to us during that time, and the human connection was the biggest piece. Well, and then we did this for, another however how long, and even though we were trying to do things with our eyes, and it wasn't the same. And human connect. I don't know about you guys, but that's certainly why I'm in this profession, because I love humans and I love people. And God, I get a lump in my throat every time I talk about this job. my mom was a teacher. My dad started his career teaching and then went into business. And I always saw them work so hard, but it was always so good. I loved hearing them talk about their students. There's just nothing else more rewarding than being able to have these connections with these kids. My husband and I both teach. And so we'll go to the grocery store, and sometimes we'll wear hats on purpose. We're like, we don't want to see anybody today. Right. Like, not today. But then you see somebody and you're like, God, I'm so glad we ran into them. It's amazing. And to be part of, talking about the kids belonging, being a teacher, you also belong to something amazing. You belong to the future. And I can't think of anything better.
That's a great
Laurie,
quote.
thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, and thank you for just that positive attitude. I can't only imagine, your students are so lucky to have you, and
come anytime. I'd love for you guys to come visit.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If viewers that are watching, if you have anything funny that you'd like to share, middle school stories, hacks, ways that we can really support each other and as middle school educators, please reach out to us on Twitter at Camel MS Mondays. That's Middle School Mondays, and send us anything that you have. We'd love these opportunities to connect with people across the state and lift each other up and share one another's successes. So our next episode is April 25th at 3:45. The same link will be here, and we look forward to connecting with you all then. Thanks.
Thanks, Laurie.